Texas A&M was able to get a huge bounce back win against McNeese, and the offense looked great.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5 Hour Energy, that's number 5.com, and use promo code Locked On CFB to receive 20% off your first order. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aggies are able to bounce back in a big way against McNeese, and the offense looked great. Now, need to put this out there now so that people aren't saying it was McNeese. Yes, it was McNeese. Understand that. Fully get it. The reason this is important was confidence. This offense played just about probably the worst game you could possibly play against Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame goes and loses to NIU, which, goodness gracious, man. I mean, that is some sort of crazy there. But you play the worst game you can probably play against Notre Dame offensively. You got a huge game coming up this weekend against Florida. You needed a bounce back offensive performance, and the Aggies were able to get that over McNeese. And what it was to me, what my opinion on this, why I'm so excited about it, is because it was a confidence thing. I'm not going to sit here. The way I want to break this down for y'all and tell y'all, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we're back. The offense is elite. This is the best offense in the world. This team's great. We're back. We're winning 10 games. We're going on a run. We're only losing one more game. You know what I mean? No, we're not. That's not what I'm going to sit here and say. What I am going to sit here and say is I do believe that performance gave the offense, the receivers, Conner Weigman, the offensive line, it gave everybody confidence. And that's what I was looking for heading into this game. That's what I said on Thursday and Friday. I said, what you want to see in this game is Texas A&M play well and boost a little bit of confidence knowing they have a huge game on this weekend against Florida. So that is what we wanted to see, and that is what we were able to see. So, in Florida, listen, they had a solid offensive day. DJ Lagway, 18 for 25, 456 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like I said, I have not, we'll preview this game this week, but he's a really special player, man. He's a really special player. And we'll get to that later in the week. We'll talk to our Locked On Gators host, Brandon Olson. And Brandon Olson, man, he's a character. You're going to love him. But, this was a game. You scored 52 points. Everything went well. What I liked offensively, more than the way Conner Weigman played, more than the way the receivers played, more than the way the running backs played, was the way the offensive line played. Watched this game for a second time yesterday, and, when you watch a game the first time, you notice, but then when you watch the second time, you really get to enjoy it. And the offensive line play on some of these runs, what I recommend to you, if you're having a rough Monday morning and need a little pick-me-up, go watch the highlights for this game and watch every huge run the Aggies have. Watch the blocking. There's a hat on a hat everywhere. Everywhere. Everyone is taking care of their responsibility. This offensive line looked really good. And yes, it was McNeese, but this offensive line was in the right spots at the right times. I love the video. I believe it was Armajri Adams and Basantis that they were driving whoever their linebacker, defensive lineman, whoever, they were driving them downfield and they both got a pancake like 20 yards past the play, like finishing the play. I love stuff like that. This offensive line looked incredible. Incredible. I'm going to keep saying it because I want people to understand where I'm coming from. The reason this is so important is because it's going to give this team just a little bit more confidence heading into this Florida game. Huge. You needed it. Imagine if Texas A&M wins this game 28-14 and the offense doesn't look good and we're all going, oh, man, here we go. And no one had any confidence. The team didn't have any confidence. That would be a problem. Now this team feels really good heading into this Florida game, and that's what you needed to see. So Conner Weigman goes 11 for 14 in this game, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. What really stood out to me about Conner Weigman's game, he looked cool. He looked comfortable in the pocket. He looked good delivering the football. He was throwing some strikes. What really stood out to me about his game, though, was the way he was able to take off and use that athleticism. Conner Weigman is his best when he is able to take advantage of some, defensive collapses, take advantage of nobody spying on him and picking up 10, 12, 15 yards on the ground. He's pulling out the shake and bake, the shimmy. He's pulling out spin move. Conner Weigman looked really athletic in this game. He looked great. Exactly what we wanted to see. Hopefully now he's feeling better. Immediately after the Notre Dame game, Conner Weigman comes out and he says, hey, man, I got to be better. I was not good. I have got to be better. Conner Weigman said that, and he was. And he needed to be. Listen, the season's not over. And I said this after the loss to Notre Dame. This one stinks. This one hurts. This one is painful. You do not want to lose that game. You don't want to lose that game at home to start the Elko era. You don't want it to happen, especially with how horrible the offense looked. You don't want any of that to happen. But what you do want is to remember, hey, this season is not over. Season's not over. I've talked about it all offseason. You've got 4 of those tough games at home. If you find a way to win one of them and take care of business everywhere else, you can win 9 football games. This season is not over in any way, shape, or form. Now, going to take care of business against Florida is going to be huge. Auburn looks a lot more beatable than we thought after week 1 when they looked great. They get beat at home by Cal. Your home games, your road games, we've talked about being the make or break games. In all honesty, I think we should be more concerned about South Carolina right now. But, I still feel that this team has a high upside. And hopefully, the way the Aggies played against McNeese will give them that boost they need, will give them that confidence boost that they need offensively. Defense, we know what you got defensively. We'll talk about the defense, who had some tackles, who played well. We're going to also get into all the PFF grades because some of them were incredible. We're going to break all that down. But, offensively, the numbers were great. So we talked about Conner Weigman's numbers. On the ground, the Aggies had 333 rushing yards. Le'Veon Moss, 9 carries, 8.4 yards, 9.3 a carry, 2 touchdowns. Exactly what we said we wanted to see. The yards per carry numbers were not good last week against Notre Dame because it's a really good defense, and you're able to fix it this week. 9.3 yards per carry for Moss. Amari Daniels, 12 for 75, 6.3 yards per carry. Terry Bussey, here he is. 1 carry, 65 yards, touchdown. Man, as soon as he got to that edge, I said, he's gone. No one's catching him. When he got to the sideline, he is so good. He is very good at the game of football that we all love. Terry Bussey, I loved seeing him getting involved offensively. Anthony Denoda was 5 for 27. Come on. This was a really good, solid-looking rushing performance. A lot of it's thanks to the offensive line. Receiving-wise, Janae Walker, not much concern there. Not worried. Down the road, we're going to be all right. There's going to be okay, I believe. That's what Coach Elko said. Cyrus Allen, 5 catches, 72 yards. He's starting to look like one of the go-to guys, man. He's open. He's talented. He's really good. I'm excited to see what he can become. I really am, because he looked really, really good. He's open. He's quick. He runs good routes. He's a veteran receiver doing what a veteran receiver should do, and that is really good to see. Then you see Moose get a couple catches and a touchdown. Noah Thomas gets in the end zone. Not 10 yards for Noah Thomas. Not as many as I would have expected, but he gets his first touchdown of the year. Isaiah Williams and Ashton Bethel-Roman get their first college catches. Williams, 15-yard catch, and Bethel-Roman had a 9-yard catch. Great to see that the young guys get involved. This offense, just top to bottom, receivers, offensive line, tight ends, running backs, quarterback was great. It was good to see Marcel Reed in the game. He was 5 for 11, 71 yards. Good to see him get some snaps. But the way this offense played, and I'm going to say it one more time before we move on and talk about the defense. Yes, it was McNeese. Yes, it was McNeese. I'm going to reiterate that a million times. I understand that. But it was more significant than that because now this team has a little bit of confidence heading into a make-or-break game against the Florida Gators on the road. This is a huge win for the Aggies. It's great for this team to just get a little bit of confidence that they need heading into a huge game coming up on Saturday. We're going to talk about how the defense did. We're going to talk about some PFF grades. We'll do all that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our wonderful friends over at 5 Hour Energy. For me, 5 Hour Energy shots give you the feeling of alertness and energy you need to get in the zone. I mean, it is just nothing beats a 5 Hour Energy on a long day. Hey, it's Monday, right? I have to work all day today. How am I going to get in the zone? 5 Hour Energy. Very, very simple. I love the way 5 Hour Energy makes me feel, especially when I know I've got a long day ahead. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There is a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors, and it is delivered right to your door. If you go to 5 Hour Energy, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. So defensively, once again, Texas A&M does a lot well. Continuing to talk about some young guys getting involved in this game. Jordan Lockhart, the young linebacker, gets 6 tackles. Leads the team in tackles. The freshman has 6 tackles, 4 solo. Miles Davis, the freshman safety, has 5 tackles. I mean, Tristan Jernigan has 5 tackles. You're getting the young guys involved, and that's exciting. I feel a lot better now. We talked about the upside of some of these young linebackers. We talked about how the depth at linebacker was a little concerning once you get past Sanford and Scooby Williams and some of the other guys there, Solomon Shields. Once you get past those guys, we go, okay, you're talented, but you're young. And that's not a great spot to be in. Getting reps for guys like Lockhart and Jernigan is huge. Their upside is absolutely through the roof. There is no question there. I'm really excited to see what these guys are going to be able to do in their college career. I think they're going to be stars when it's time for them to get going. You had 2 interceptions in this game. You had an interception for Marcus Ratcliffe, and you had an interception from Will the Blanket Lee. Love seeing some turnovers. Turnovers win you football games. You want to turn some teams over the rest of the season. You're going to want to see this defense have interceptions, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. That's what you need. And, once again, why not get started now? Why not get going now, get some interceptions? Absolutely love to see that. You had 3 tackles for loss in this game. And it was funny because you had a bunch of Shamar Turner has a tackle for loss. Regis has a half tackle for loss. Dalton Brooks has a half tackle for loss. Rodas Johnson has a half tackle for loss. And Gabriel Brunlow-Dindy has a half tackle for loss. It's just a really, really good – it's really solid to have a defense, getting in the backfield and making stops. And then on top of that, when you look at the way this team is getting pressure, that was the one thing watching. I was kind of like, they're not getting a ton of – there wasn't as much pressure as I would have thought, but I think this defensive line is going to start to get pressure. I think – and once – I mean, I'm not saying there's no pressure, but I'm saying this team to this point has not racked up the sacks like I would have expected. And I think that you're going to see this team get more pressure as the season goes along. So I'm not worried about that at all, but I think you're going to start to see the sacks come. I'm no longer a huge believer that the Aggies are going to lead the SEC in sacks, but I do think you could start seeing the sacks come. You could start seeing this defensive line get after the quarterback going down the road. So yes, defensively, I was really happy with everything we saw. I mean, I think this team played a complete game, all three levels. I was happy with the way the defense played. And I think once again, I mean, I wasn't worried about this defense heading into the Florida game because we saw this defense play really well against Notre Dame, except for really a few missed tackles late in the game and that one large run. But I was happy with how this defense played top to bottom, and I think in the future you're going to see this defense continue to be one of the better defenses in the SEC. So I'm happy with that. Good game for them. It wasn't a bounce back game for the defense. It was a stay right game for the defense. They did exactly that. They're ready to rock and roll for the Florida game. So I want to talk a little bit about the PFF grades because there were a few that stood out. So you have Damian Sanford with an 82.3. Love that. A guy that you need to see play well, a guy that you need to see have a high upside. He has a good game. Will Lee has an 81.2. These guys didn't play a ton of snaps around 20, but still, I mean, the point is you're getting reps and you're doing good things with those reps, according to PFF. Nick Scorton has a 79.8 in about 14 snaps. I mean, these guys aren't playing. They're not playing a ton of snaps, and I get it. I mean, there's just no need to waste your defensive guys to get your guys hurt in a game like this. There's just no reason to. Samu I thought looked really good. The huge defensive lineman. He had only 11 snaps, but he just looked. You could tell when he was out there. You know what I mean? And that was something that really stood out to me. You like when a player like him, whose job is to really clog the run and try and get some pressure, and try and get in the quarterback space, but really clog the run and be large, really take up space. You like when you notice guys like that, because when you notice guys like that is when they're doing things well. Because that's a position a lot of times that kind of goes unnoticed. Their job is to, make the running back bounce. If your linebackers, maintain their gaps, then you're going to be able to stop guys for 2-3 yard gains. That's the job of a player like Samu, but he really just is noticeable out there. And that's good because that means he's doing his job, but while also making plays. So I was very happy with that. I mean, you had a lot of players show up well on this side of the ball. So I was happy with how the defense looked. We'll talk about the offensive PFF grades and talk a little bit about Florida coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Ibata. Sunglasses, sunscreen, snacks for the kids. What do these things have in common? You're probably buying a ton again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibata and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all of your summer essentials. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you are purchasing. Right now, Ibata is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $5 just for trying. So the offensive PFF grades in this game were really solid once again. First of all, I'll tell you this. The numbers that we saw from Chase Basantis, my goodness. Chase Basantis in this game had a 98.8 PFF grade in 53 snaps. That is absolutely insane. That is incredible. He looked great. He had a 99.9 pass grade. Everything he was asked to do, every block he was supposed to make, every assignment he had, he did, and he did to a high level. You know, he's a great player. He's a great football player with the high upside, and it was good to see him have a really good game like this. Conner Weigman, once again, another solid game from him, PFF grade wise. When I say another, I mean career wise. He's had a PFF. He's been a PFF darling, except for the monstrosity which was last week. So Conner Weigman grades out of 97.7 last week, in this game. Very happy with that. He needed to bounce back bad, and he got it. Demetrius Crownover in 33 snaps is a 92.9. You love seeing your offensive lineman grade out well. I also think that, who also looked really good was Theo Mellon-Nordstrom blocking. He just looks huge out there. He looks strong. He looks powerful. He looks really, really good out there making holes for this running game, and you love to see that. Ruben Fothry, once again, 21 snaps. He had an 86.7. You take that all day long. Le'Veon Moss grades out at an 83.2. He looked solid. I think that these grades, the point of breaking down these grades is to say that, PFF likes the way this offense played as much as we all do. This offense looked really good. They moved the ball well. They did everything right. You've got to be really excited by this offense going forward, hoping that this is that boost of confidence that they need. And the last thing I want to talk about before we call it a day is I really loved the way that this team did bounce back. This team bounced back, and you're going to play a Florida team that they're similar to you. They have a lot of talent. You're going to their place. You're going to the Swamp. It's a scary, scary, scary venue to play at. It's a loud place to play. It's somewhere. It's somewhere that I think you need to win. It's a place that it's going to be tough, but this is a Florida team that you can beat, and I really do believe you should beat. If your offense shows up, if Conner Weigman plays well, if your offensive line has another great game, and your defense just does what we know your defense can do, you can beat this Florida team on the road. And this feels like a game, if you want to have a good season, you got to win this football game. You cannot get started 1-2. You have to win. You have got to find a way to get this W on the road, because if you don't, I don't see this year going well if you don't win this game. You've still got tough games. You got to go to Florida South Carolina after this, who has looked solid. You got to go. Arkansas looked better than I expected. Auburn, they looked really bad against Cal, but still, you got to go to their place. Then you still got LSU coming here. You got Texas coming here. You got Missouri coming here. You got all that going on. You have got to find a way to win this game against Florida to set yourself up in a good spot for the future. So you've got to win these games. Start with Florida. Hopefully this gave this team some confidence where they can go in the Swamp and get a massive win coming up here this weekend. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Really, really appreciate it. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope everyone enjoyed football. Got another fun NFL game coming up tonight. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.